Welcome to Beyond County Lines.
Today we're talking about the AES Rancho Viejo Commercial Solar Project.
Beyond County Lines, your community's flow. Santa Fe County updates, everybody wants to know.
I like to do icebreakers. Last time we did a trivia, which was a lot of fun. But today I just want to make sure we're okay. Is everybody okay? It's been quite a few years we've been going through this whole process. So today we're specifically talking about the AES application appeal hearing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Can I get you both to introduce yourselves?
I'm Dominic J. Cisneros, Building and Development Supervisor with Growth Management.
All right.
And I'm Alexandra Ladd. I'm the Director for Growth Management.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. We're excited to talk about the meeting that's coming up. It's going to be a very busy week. We have a meeting Monday, Tuesday, and then our regular BCC on Wednesday. So it's going to be a lot of sitting down and listening to people talk. So it's actually going to calm down when we start, I guess, because right now we're just doing all the preparation. Could you guys talk to us a little bit about the application and the process, what we're expecting on Monday and Tuesday of next week?
We are expecting a lot of conversation, more talking, of course. The two meetings are all-day meetings. We don't have an end time. The first day will be the staff making its presentation, the applicant making their presentation, and then the parties of standing. And these are groups that have been recognized by the Board of County Commissioners as having some kind of vested interest in the outcome of this project. So we have opponents of the project and supporters of the project, and they will be presenting their reasons for their positions. And then day 2 will be the public comment day.
Okay. And before we continue on, just to have our listeners and viewers know exactly what we're talking about, could you explain what the AES appeal is about?
Yeah, definitely. So in 2024, AES Solar and Rancho Viejo Solar applied for an application for a conditional use permit to allow a solar facility with a battery energy storage system and a gen tie line to be approved on 680 acres. That is part of an overall 820 acre tract just east of New Mexico Highway, NM14. This project first went forward in December of 2024 to the hearing officer, and then it went into the Planning Commission in February of 2025. A decision was made then at that meeting for Planning Commission in February of 2025, and then now it was appealed on May 2nd of 2025. The hearing on Monday is going to be de novo, so it starts over. So the commissioners will not be hearing or approving the actual appeal. They're going to be hearing the case brand new and be making a decision on the case overall. So they will not be making a decision on if the appeal is approved or denial. They're hearing the case brand new.
That's really good information. I actually didn't even know that. So lots of expert testimony and evaluation over this long period of time in regards to this application. Under the Sustainable Land Use Development Code, can you explain to our listeners a little bit about the conditional use permitting process and how the application is being reviewed for this upcoming hearing?
So a conditional use permit is part of the entitlement process. The entitlement process is for a property owner or developer to get approval for developing a project like this. A conditional use is not just an outright approval of the project. There's still other steps that they must take in order to get this project developed. This is just the approval or denial of if they can move forward with this project to go on to actual permitting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. I think it's important that the conditional use process establishes the conditions that have to be satisfied before the project can even apply for a permit to be built. So it's not approval to build, it's approval to move forward and satisfy those conditions. So on Monday, you will hear us talk about those conditions during the meeting that staff has determined are appropriate, working in consultation with the third-party expert. The Board of County Commissioners then can add additional conditions or amend some of the conditions that are in the staff report right now. So it'll be a very thoughtful conversation, I'm sure, because that's sort of where the rubber meets the road. Like, what do those conditions look like? Those are going to be specific to the site, to the project, and will reflect all of the expertise that's gone into evaluating whether this project meets the code or not.
In the code, it also clarifies that, part of the evaluation process is to ensure that the health, safety, and welfare of the community is, at the forefront when reviewing these applications. We all know there is some concern from community about this particular project. Can you talk about maybe some of the experts and kind of evaluation that has gone into, the staff report in regards to the CUP process?
Yeah, definitely. So Santa Fe County and our department, we contracted third-party reviewers, subject matter experts for the fire hazard mitigation plan, for the environmental impact report, sound study, and whatnot. And so those third-party experts really take a look and get into the meat of those actual issues. And, those issues aren't going to come front, and be upfront right away. A lot of those issues have to still be worked out and reviewed. Some of the conditions that you'll see on Monday is, that the Santa Fe County Fire Department and the subject matter expert still are going to be reviewing this process once it gets to if it gets to a development permit process, and then even after a development permit or building permit is issued, before the project is even commissioned. Subject matter experts and Santa Fe County Fire are still going to review and make sure that those conditions that were in place for the conditional use permit are still in place at that point.
And just one more thing, there's a whole nother set of codes that apply to this kind of project. So the fire codes, which are not in the SLDC, those are separate codes. And so that's where the third-party experts in terms of this issue really come into play, because they're going to be looking at whether the project will be designed to meet those requirements. And my understanding too, even beyond the development permit from the county, once it goes to the state for the building permit to construction industry division, the state's fire marshal then again looks at it to make sure that it's compliant with fire code. So
there's so many details that are not at the surface for this application or the whole process. It's kind of crazy to learn about them. I want to see if we can focus on the actual meetings on Monday and Tuesday. So Monday is presentations from staff, the applicant, and parties withstanding. And that's going to be an 8-hour day plus or minus. And Tuesday is really what I want to focus just to get the word out on what the public can expect. So we have public comment. That's what the whole day is going to be dedicated to, starting at 10 o'clock here at 102 Grant Avenue. Pre-registration is required, but what do you think we should share with the public that's just so they know what to expect when they come to 102 or 240?
So they will be greeted by a helpful person. And if they have signed up for a time to speak, that person will direct them where they can wait for their turn to speak. If they haven't signed up, they can also get help signing up. That they'll be helped to find an available slot. Some people may just be interested in observing the proceedings. We have a limited space in the chambers for people, but we do have some space. But mostly the county's conference rooms will be turned over to the public to watch. The meeting gets streamed. People, of course, can watch from the comfort of their own home through YouTube or the county's web, I guess it's Team link, or the county has reserved a space at the El Dorado Hotel if folks want to be together and watch on a big screen. So there's lots of ways that people can watch the hearing that way.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that you can also participate from home too. If you register to speak, you don't have to come to chambers. You can join online. There will be a portion of each hour block dedicated to virtual participants. So sign up at Santa Fe County nm.gov/AES comment.
It's also important to emphasize to residents who are going to come downtown to speak, there is very limited parking. There is a lot of construction downtown. We're also getting ready for an influx of tourism as the Indian market is this weekend. So please remember that if you are going to come and you're going to register, if you have already registered to speak, you can find parking at the Sandoval parking structure, at the El Dorado Hotel, or at the Santa Fe Convention Center.
As well as the Cathedral parking lot, which is about an 8-minute walk from the 102 Grant Building.
Daniel, sorry, as you mentioned, I just do want to emphasize that day one, there will be no public participation and no interaction. So it's just viewing, parties standing, applicants, staff, as you mentioned. Day two is dedicated and reserved for the public speaking. So I just want to emphasize that because there has been some confusion from some public.
Yeah, good call. I want to emphasize Indian market is this weekend. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow, time is just going by way too fast. It's insane. I'm going through my midlife crisis. And I announced this in our morning meeting, and everybody was genuinely concerned. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sense
sports
of
car back out.
Right. It's a sense of end of summer almost. Indian market is almost out.
Yeah.
Back to school.
The October hits, and then suddenly it's Christmas. Yeah.
Totally. Tell us about the discretionary hearing.
So a discretionary hearing is a hearing, that the CUP process goes through. It's 2 public hearings at a minimum, and then a possible of a third. Like in this case, the project was appealed, going on to BCC. Discretionary hearing is basically a body that looks over a case, and they'll make a decision based on criteria set forth in the SLDC, but they'll also make a decision based off of public interest. And so that's also just very important to understand. Again, public interest is very large in this case. And so, a lot of people have submitted letters of support, letters of opposition and concern. And those are all viewable, and they'll be part of the record. And they're all viewable on our website, as well as on board docs and part of the record.
And just to add to that, staff is not making the decision here. This is a decision that the elected officials are making. And that's where the discretionary part comes in, because we're objectively looking at how the code criteria applies and making a recommendation, but its ultimate decision comes from them.
Thank you. I think that's important clarification.
So there are a few pages that you can find the links to the capacity of each conference room and the registration page. The easiest, I think, is to go to Santa Fe County NN.gov and click on the icon that says commercial solar. Once that next page loads, you'll have both links to the registration page and to the available seating on each conference room, as well as El Dorado. And I suggest for anybody that's listening to this to think of El Dorado as your first stop, because that's going to have the most capacity, and it's the closest to the 102 Grant Building if you need to come in if you've registered to speaking, the short walk.
All right. Well, any last closing remarks about the hearing and what people can anticipate?
I have a question. We don't have to. We're already over the 15, but if it's interesting. So, from what I'm understanding, this is just an approval so they can move forward with their application. And then once they move forward with that application, they also need approval with every other step that they take. And then once they get approval on that, then they go to the state fire marshal for more approvals. So I'm just curious. Let's say the board approves it tomorrow. What's the estimate on the completion of build? Like, how many years? Is it years in the future that you think this would be approved or finally built?
So the process is, after a decision is made by the Board of County Commissioners, a final order will be drafted up by staff and reviewed by legal. That final order will go the following month to get approved. Once that document is recorded and filed down at the clerk's office, a second appeal can happen, but that appeal would go on to district court, not to any other bodies, governing bodies by Santa Fe County. The typical conditional use permit, there's an expiration of 24 months. The SLDC does allow an extension of 12 months, which is being requested by the applicant at this time. So they're requesting for a total of 36 months. If they do not do any type of development, start any type of development within that 36-month process of when that document is recorded, then they will have to come back for another approval. And so they're requesting that 36 months because it's still a process. They still have to go through the RFP process, with the
with construction,
with
right?
with PNM. Or the I forgot what the process is, but they have to go through a process with PNM to get approved as well. And then what a lot of people don't understand is everything in Santa Fe County is a 2-permit process. What Santa Fe County is looking at is they're looking at zoning restrictions, heights, setbacks, and we are giving approval basically off that. Once someone has an approval from Santa Fe County, then they have to go on to the construction industry division with the state of New Mexico to get the actual building permit. And that's when they'll do all the, technical reviews of the structures. They'll do all the individual inspections as the process goes through for concrete, electrical, plumbing, whatnot.
Wow.
And so it is a process still. So I don't think we're thinking, of 5 years down the road, but I think, 2 to 3 years is what we're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, I was interested in how long that would actually take. One more thing, I want to just commend all of growth management for going through this entire process. I have my small parts in like muting the microphones or watching the timers and things like that, and I feel overwhelmed like crazy for these 2 meetings that are coming up, but I know that's nowhere near how much work you guys are doing. So,
yeah, absolutely. Kudos to you guys.
Well, we appreciate that, but we also have so much support from all these different departments, from your department, from the county manager's office, from our colleagues at the other building who are helping us with some of the logistics. So yeah, it's a team effort for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we have internal staff in our department. And I just want to make this a point as well, is they will be we'll have a staff member in every single conference room, for the viewing for the public. And I just ask that, people are kind to my staff members. They're there to help them and guide them. They're not there to, make discussion or have any argument or anything. And they're there to keep track and make sure that the rooms that are at capacity and don't over exceed capacity, because that's a big issue that the Santa Fe County Fire Marshal had brought to our attention and want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on.
All right. Well, thank you both for being on the podcast. Do you have anything else, Olivia?
No, thank you both. And again, visit santafecounty.nm.gov to register to speak and to find more details about the upcoming hearing on August 11th and 12th.
August 11th and 12th.
Oh.
Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And listen to us on Que Suave and Que Dice.
Beyond county lines, your communities flow. Santa Fe